guys, Tin Spence here again. As a scrub nurse, we get to work with a lot of different surgeons from different specialities. One of the things that I have noticed over the experience is that I'm not saying all surgeons are arrogant, but they do seem to have a tendency to become arrogant. There's some memorable experiences that I have experienced that I still remember. I know I have a bunch of experience over the years, but only some of them I remember. Some of them made me angry enough to remember. Here are some of the things that they say. I have never worked with a surgeon before. He was draping a different way. I prepared a clip to give to him because I'm thinking that's what he might use, but he asked for a cocker. And so I took a cocker and gave it to him. And then when I gave it to him, he said, I want a clip. And I was like, oh, but you asked for a cocker. And he was like, you should give me what I need and not what I asked for. I could get that, especially if you've had a lot of experience. There are times when you do know what they need and you kind of just give it to them even without them asking. But still, I think it's not always going to be an experienced nurse that you're going to work with. So you can't always expect that. One of our trust values is clearly communicating. Even if you're a surgeon, you're not exempt from the trust values because we all work in the same trust. You have to accept the fact that sometimes when you ask for something, that's what we're gonna give you because that's what you said you wanted. Similar thing. So this was when COVID happened and we all had to wear all this PPE, for every case that we did. And it was so annoying, like having to wear an FP3 mask, plus a visor. The disadvantage of wearing all those things is that you can barely hear each other. The sound is so muffled. This particular surgeon, without the mask and the visor, sometimes I find it difficult to understand him. This particular moment, I really cannot hear him. And so I said, I can't understand, please, can you tell me again? And he started getting frustrated and he started getting angry. And I haven't worked with a surgeon for a very long time. I have been working with orthopedics recently and this was general surgery. I've done a lot of laparoscopic cases before, but a lot of different surgeons will do different ways of starting. Some surgeons will use a blade to open the skin. Some surgeons will use the diathermy machine. And most surgeons actually use a blade. And this particular surgeon, he likes to use a diathermy machine. And I didn't know that. It's prepared, but I didn't hand it to him. And he gets annoyed by that. He was doing his start of the laparoscopic a different way from everyone. I haven't done it with him before. So I wasn't sure what he was trying to do. And so I needed him to tell me what he needed. He started shouting, "She should already know what I want." I must admit, I have experienced this a lot when I was new because I didn't really know what I'm doing yet. I was dependent on people teaching me. If I was new, I would have thought, oh, it's my fault because I didn't know. But because I already had experience and I've done this case so many times with a lot of different people that I know that he was being unreasonable to expect me to know exactly how he's doing it. I think personally, okay, I'm a scrub nurse and I do a lot of different specialities. I deal with general surgery, ENT, max fax, orthopedics, obstetrics, gynae, urology, whatever case comes into our hospital. And our hospital is an emergency hospital, so anything can happen. Okay, each specialty will have a lot of different consultants. You can expect me to know the basics, but you can't expect me to memorize exactly how you want things done, especially if I haven't worked with you in a very long time. That's an unreasonable expectation. For you to expect that, it's like you think that the world revolves around you. And for me, that shows a lot of arrogance because you're not the only surgeon here. You're not the only person that I'm working with. Why would you expect me to put you on top of everyone else? Reserve a part of my brain, especially for you, to memorize everything that you do after months or years that I haven't worked with you. I have everything ready that you need. And this actually just happened very recently, and one of the inspiration for me making this video. Every time we take out a part of the body, it's not all the time that will be sent off to the lab. It depends whether it needs to be sent or not. And also, it would depend what the surgeon wants with the specimen, whether we will put it in formalin or not. So we always have to ask that question. I asked the surgeon, are we sending the specimen off? And his response was very sarcastic. He said, it's not like we're doing tonsillectomy, is it? It's a major organ, of course we're sending it off. That made my blood boil. I said, I still ask every time we take out something, especially to ask you whether or not we're gonna put it in formalin or not. Oh my goodness, and he carried on with the sarcasm. He said, but that's different from whether or not we're sending it off to the lab, putting formalin or not. Had to be quiet and think, how am I going to respond? Because I can't let my temper get the best of me, and I can't say something that I might regret. So I thought about it, and so I said, I think it's still better for us to communicate instead of us assuming things, because that's when mistakes happen. If you make me feel silly for asking a question, we might start having second thoughts on asking you a question in the future because of the way you respond. And because we're scared that you're gonna make us feel silly about asking this question. That's not right. Because when we start assuming things, we're gonna start making mistakes. It's better to be able to clearly communicate. And then he stayed quiet anyway. But he never really apologized about his behavior. English is my second language, really. I mean, I know I can speak it, I understand it very well, but there are times when I find it difficult to find the right term for something, especially the professional term for it. But I know that the words that I'm using is something that you understand. But sometimes certain surgeons would make fun of that and would tell you, would repeat it and make you feel you're dumb. But for me, communication is all about being able to get your message across. Depending on who you're talking to, actually, it's better to use not the medical term, especially if you're talking to someone who wouldn't even understand it anyway. But obviously, they're the surgeon, so they can understand it. But because I can't remember the particular term, I just use the term that is handy to me so that I can communicate it right now. Because obviously for me, the time is important. Sometimes they would make you feel small for doing that, for saying that. And I just think that in general, that is not how we are meant to be treated. We deserve to be treated with respect because we are all professionals. We're all adults. I don't treat them that way. I don't disrespect them for them to retaliate. I do feel from experience that arrogance is a surgeon's curse. It seems like sometimes their medical degree gets to their heads and gives them some sort of superiority complex where they think that everyone is below them and everyone else is dumb. Everyone else don't know what they're talking about. Sometimes I feel that there is a slight sexual influence in it because there's a lot of female surgeons, but the surgeon world is mostly dominated by males, and the scrub world, the nurse world, there's a lot of male nurses, but it is female dominated, and I can see that in actual practice. Sometimes you can feel it, that it's like you can't talk, you can't respond because you're a woman. You don't know what you're talking about. In the operating theater, there are 3 teams: anesthetic team, the scrub team, and the surgeon's team. And the anesthetic team will have the anesthetist and the anesthetist assistant, or the ODP. scrub team will have 2 scrub nurses and a healthcare assistant, and then surgeon's team will be surgeons. A patient cardiac arrested from anaphylaxis one time, and so we managed to revive the patient, and then the surgeon was asking for something with antibiotics, and my band 6 wanted to double check, kind of asking but kind of at the same time reminding him, this patient just had an anaphylactic shock. Are you sure it's a good idea to give another antibiotic? Do we really want to take that risk? The surgeon was not paying attention at all. He was just like, just give it to me. Just give it to me. It was only when the anesthetist, another doctor, said that, oh wait, don't do that, that he started to listen. It was like, you're just a nurse. You're not good enough to listen to. We have that experience sometimes that you don't get listened to because you don't have that medical degree. I think everyone is equal. I believe in following the authority line. That is essential for some order, but in treating people and interacting with people, we deserve to be treated with respect. When I was new, I was one of those people who thinks that when they get angry, it's my fault. And then I go run around like a headless chicken trying to give this surgeon who's angry what he wants. I even thanked this person after. I'm like, thank you for being patient with me. But he wasn't really patient. And the anesthetist actually told me off. Why are you thanking him? Actually, I started to think, that's true. He didn't even treat me right. We shouldn't encourage this behavior, because when we start running around like headless chicken trying to please this surgeon who's treating us like garbage, it reinforces that behavior, and it's not right. We shouldn't have to be treated that way. We shouldn't have to be shouted at, made to feel like we're so small, lower than they are. It's not a perfect world. That's gonna happen. But still, we should stand our ground and let's not encourage this behavior. And that's why I get so annoyed when I see this. When they start getting angry and then everyone's just like, oh, let's give him what he wants. Sometimes I'm just like, let him wait. That's just gonna make them even more arrogant. The other thing that annoys me, when a surgeon express some sort of interest in one of the nurses and then they're all like, ah. Oh, that annoys me. Do you know why? Because there's a part of me that feels that, come on, they don't really see you as an equal. They see you as like some hussy. In the future, they can tell their friends, oh, you know what I did with that one? I just winked at her and she's all over me. Please don't do that. I mean, if you're genuinely interested in this person and you think that they're genuinely interested in you, go for it. But please don't encourage this arrogance. No matter what your role is, no matter what your job is, it doesn't matter. Porter, HCA, cleaner, doctor, nurse, midwife, whatever, admin. You are important. Don't let anyone make you feel like you're not. Don't let anyone put you down. Stand your ground and defend yourself. Because at the end of the day, the most important person in the theater, in the operating room, is not the doctors, not the nurses. You know who it is? The most important person in the operating room is the patient. So, whatever it is that you're doing, if you're doing it for the patient, go for it. If you have to ask questions to keep the patient safe, ask the question. It doesn't matter if they're gonna get angry. Let them get angry. Who cares? You know, if they behave like that, why do you care about what they say? They don't even know how to behave. I hope you like this video. Give it a thumbs up if you like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel. I'm a ninja without a name. Don't fall in love.